We can leave the door open. I don't think there's anybody here right now. There were people here. How dare they?
Let's party.
You sound like you're already partying too hard.
We partied pretty hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm ready. I'm the fresh one. Fresh and ready. Woo!
I'm glad she's got the energy.
Oh, let's talk about suicide. Woo!
Content warning, content warning.
Yeah, it's a content warning.
The suicide hotline is 1-800-273-TALK. If you are having problems, talk it out with somebody. Get in touch with them first. Text home to 741-741 if you can't make a phone call because you're like me and have too much anxiety and will not talk on the phone. There are options. There are people who want you here, and we want you here. All right. Party like it's the greatest year in film. I'm Kristin. With me today is Amber.
Yay.
And Sarah.
Yay.
Yay. Yeah.
Does that tell you what we're in for at all?
So we watched The Virgin Suicides.
I had never heard of this movie at all.
Really?
Period.
Oh.
Never. Mm-mm.
I didn't do my due diligence and actually look it up, but I think this is the first female director.
It's Sofia Coppola. Yeah, I think so.
That we have looked at this year, which I think gave it a little different flavor than a lot of the other things.
I think so too, because the perspective of these 5 girls and like just really talking about like how girls interact with themselves, like their culture that they build together, even as sisters. Yeah.
Which I don't think would have been done as well.
Well, I think the original book was written by a man.
I didn't know that.
Sofia Coppola wrote the script and directed it. The point of view character is a boy.
Yes.
Who is watching these girls.
Yes.
So there's like so many layers of...
Right.
Yeah.
I know. I thought as I was watching it, I think it's within the first like 15 minutes or so, you realize it's being told through. Well, I guess it's within the first 5 minutes or so is being told through the boys' view because Cecilia is the youngest one, was the first to go.
I think that's like the first line of the film.
Yeah.
So you hadn't heard of it. Had you seen it before?
I saw it when I was 15 or 16, but I did not remember anything about it.
Oh, wow.
Do you even
it just like completely
remember like,
eluded me, apparently.
Your visceral reaction to it? Did you remember even that?
I honestly don't.
Thought it was...
Yeah, it must have been one that I wasn't paying that much attention to because I kind of had a general idea of what happened. I didn't really remember details. I couldn't even remember that it was set in the 70s.
Yeah, I came into it thinking, wasn't this in the 50s? But...
It was definitely the 70s.
Yeah.
I mean, there was sticks in it, so it was not in the 50s.
Right.
And bell bottoms and halter
yeah,
tops.
The clothing was a big giveaway.
Awesome haircuts.
Yeah.
There was some good hair.
For sure.
Very true.
I didn't see it until college. It was like the last semester. I was going through a lot of shit. And for some reason, our East Asian poetry class... Our Taiwanese professor just decided we were going to watch this movie.
Oh, God.
I do not remember the circumstances of why.
What?
I don't know.
Wow.
But it was a very good movie.
Yeah,
it is.
I really liked it. I enjoyed watching it.
So, yeah, it had been several years since I had seen it. I didn't remember anything about it other than Kirsten Dunst was in it. And I got in there and was like, AJ Cook, I have such a huge crush on her. She's so cute. But... that's really all I remembered about it. I didn't even remember it was James Woods.
Oh, yeah.
Which might be one of the least gross roles I think I've ever
problematic.
seen him in.
Yeah. He was still a pretty weird character.
He was weird.
The dad?
The dad.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, detached father.
Yeah, he wasn't great, but he also didn't come across as, like, super gross like he tends to do in everything else he ever does.
Yeah. So the IMDb summary of this movie is, a group of male friends... become obsessed with 5 mysterious sisters who are sheltered by their strict religious parents in suburban Detroit in the mid-1970s.
I mean, yep, the end.
We did it. 5 girls. Great.
Well, so I had recently just watched Pride and Prejudice.
Okay.
And, I mean, I've read the book in high school, too. And it's always interesting to me how they always depict... you know, these girls as boy obsessed and marrying off, and I was getting the same kind of vibes of it. But I like that, like, taking away from Pride and Prejudice to here, it's like it's a little bit more complicated than just, there's more to it. Like, this is more an actual, like, you can see real rebellion.
Like
from
they're maybe
them.
boy obsessed for a reason.
Yes, not just. I mean, and Pride and Prejudice. It's because their mother is pushing that on them because marry for money.
Yeah.
You just have to get married for money.
That's just what you did.
And I have 6 girls that need to be married off. And then you have the opposite where this mom is like, no, I must keep my precious daughters up in this tower of the castle and they must never touch or see a boy.
Right.
Yeah. I am so confused about their parents.
I think the mom is just one of those weird, strongly protective, religious, I don't want my child to ever get hurt or harmed, and there's evil and devils out in the world, and the dad just follows along.
And she was convinced she was doing the right thing throughout the whole movie.
I mean, growing up, I don't know your guys' experience, but I grew up in a pretty religiously strict household, and definitely, like, I was feeling very strong the same feelings that they were, like being trapped, like being isolated. Like I wasn't allowed to really have outside friends outside of the religion.
Wow.
I couldn't do extracurricular activities. I never went to a homecoming dance or a school dance or anything. All of my friends were church friends, and if there was a boy that I like, because I was into video games that I hung out with, it was always chaperoned. There was always some adult presence around me.
Wow. We did not have that.
No. I feel like we both had parents that were very open.
Chill.
Yeah, they were chill. Like, we weren't really, I don't even know what I'm wanting to say.
My parents were hippies for a while.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like mine were too. Like, we weren't really censored a lot. We weren't, I mean, they were careful to make sure we were on the right path.
Yeah, but I feel like there was an intellectual freedom of some kind.
They trusted us.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And we respected that trust.
Exactly.
Because that's not common.
Yeah.
I had the opposite. Like, the whole scene where Lux, like, after she didn't show up after homecoming or whatever, and, like, the mom was, like, making her burn her CDs and stuff. I've had that kind of stuff being taken away from me, like Harry Potter books and Pokemon stuff.
Which, to be fair, if I had gone out one night and not come home, my parents would do the same. Well, but they would also probably just let me go and
wouldn't, like, keep you in a room for 2 months.
Yeah.
And my sisters.
Right.
Yeah, the sisters got punished as well.
Yeah.
Like, they were locked away as well and taken out of school. A little extreme.
So the thing that blows my mind about the mother is she's trying to protect them from boys, I guess.
Yeah.
But she got married. And she has fucked 5 times.
At least 5 times.
At least.
So, like, what's the issue here? Like, what is it? Like,
I don't know.
What is it that he did to her, or what is it that has happened to her
in her past, or what she grew up with?
What the hell happened that...
I almost wonder if there's... I mean, it probably doesn't go into it more, but I wonder if the book delves into it more than the movie. From what I understand, the adaptation was pretty good and like pretty respected, but they couldn't have gotten the entire book in.
Yeah, that's true. It's just that, like, I don't know, the dad is such a non-entity that it's like there almost is no masculine presence.
He tries.
And there are times where you can kind of see, like, he sees what's happening is wrong, but he doesn't step in.
Like, for instance, like, so
like, he thinks everything's out of his hands.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of specifically the only time where he tried to exert some sort of influence and was happy about it was when Tripp asked, this is the kid who fell in love with Lux and was obsessed with her and actually started dating her and was able to ask the dad, hey, if I take your daughter to homecoming, can I do this?
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, well, we have rules. And you could tell he was like, didn't really believe in the rules 100%.
Yeah.
And then was willing to ask the mom, like, hey, if all the girls went out and they all went with boys and I'm going to be a chaperone there, can my daughters do that? And he actually looked really happy. Like, he was like excited that his daughters were dressing up and like going out with you and then
kind of having a normal teenage life.
Yes. Yeah. And this is all after Celia had killed herself, her second attempt which was awful.
So early in the movie, we are introduced to this family as 5 blonde girls, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
Yeah, stair steps.
And they're very mysterious. They're not homeschooled.
No.
But
they're at a private school, though, because they're wearing uniforms.
Okay.
Of some sort, at least.
And it's at least alluded to that it's a very strict household.
Yeah.
They do talk about debutante, so they're probably pretty
Richer.
rich.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Well, I mean, this was a time period when Detroit, the auto industry, was
That's a good point.
Oh.
Yeah.
booming. So people were pretty wealthy at the time.
Yeah. When was,
Because I think they even mentioned at some point how, like, the auto industry was starting to fail kind of towards the end.
Oh.
I was starting to wonder when there was like a big gas shortage in the 70s.
Oh, I don't
And
know.
I don't know if that maybe had an effect on the economy in the movie.
Possibly.
Because, again, Come Sail Away was in 77, so it was the late 70s. So we get a look at these 5 girls. They're all cute and blonde, and no one understands how these beautiful creatures could come from their math teacher
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
his wife. It basically starts with Cecilia attempting to slit her wrists.
The transition was really good because it was like this outside, like looking through the neighborhood, all this happy music, and then literally start cut gray bathroom, blood on the floor. I was like, dang, that was fast. I wasn't expecting that. It was
Yeah.
really, really good contrast.
They get her to the hospital. The doctors talk to her. Yeah, first of all, mental health of young girls. Second, in the 70s.
What was the line? Why'd you do this? Why are you here? You don't even know what it's like to have a hard
Yeah.
life yet.
Yeah, you're not even old enough to know how bad life gets. I actually wrote that down.
God.
And Cecilia says, clearly, doctor, you have never been a 13-year-old girl.
Which,
That was like, yep.
yeah, very true.
Sick burn.
Good.
Danny DeVito is a psychiatrist.
Yep.
For some reason. Smoking.
Everybody was smoking. There's a lot of smoking.
And you kind of get the sense that he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing with this girl. But then you kind of, at least I kind of agreed with what he was saying. Of
Well,
like,
yeah, he was like, she needs to socialize. She needs to have,
He said, this was a cry for help.
yeah.
Right.
And you can't lock these girls away
Mhm.
forever. They need interaction. He specifically says with males her own age. I don't know why
Yeah, I
that's
don't know.
important.
I don't know why
but-
it's more. Yeah, but it definitely the emphasis on, because I remember watching this and going, okay, they took his advice, but instead of letting them go out, it's still under the roof.
Yes.
So the dad invites one of his better students or a student that had interest in what he was doing to the house. And I was like, all these horny teens.
I know,
Oh
these
my God.
Girls are just
Like he's like blood and they're all shark and they're just like
I know
circling
it.
him.
Yeah.
they're like playing footsie with him under the table, and he's like trying not to have a boner.
Yeah.
Right.
I have to go to the bathroom. Dear God.
Yeah.
And of course, 13-year-old Celia is like, oh my God, my sisters. Which also is another thing that reminded me of Pride and Prejudice too, because there was the youngest sister in Pride and Prejudice who was also the same way as Cecilia. Who was like, I've had to watch my 4 or 5 older sisters go through all of this. Oh my God, they're ridiculous and I hate it. And I would rather be working on journaling and environmental stuff.
She's very much a conservationist. She's
Yeah.
concerned about all these
Despite-
extinct.
And when later on, when the boys get her journal, they're flipping through it, and there was one part where she was like, "I hope I don't look or act like this," and specifically referring to one of the sisters.
Like she's somehow much more mature despite being
Yes.
the youngest.
I mean, if you watch your sisters behave like idiots, and I suppose it's just like I don't know.
You learn by watching.
Yeah.
Her.
Yeah, Cecilia's interesting because she does seem more mature in a lot of ways, but
She says it.
Also not so.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, she did end up attempting first. So she's clearly not being taught how to cope
No.
Right.
with things,
Mm-mm.
which is not her fault.
Mm-mm.
But she's also clearly very smart.
Yes.
So after that point, they also host a party
Oh my
at
God.
the house, which
Oh,
they
this is
say
awful.
is the first and only party they've ever had at their house.
Yeah. It was the most awkward. I was like, since I never got to experience teen parties, I'm like, is this what it was like? Where you just kind of like stand around and not know what to say? I mean, just be awkward.
If the parents are around, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also made me go, man, so many of my get-togethers, though, revolved around video games. And like they literally just had to stand around and just like look at each other.
Yeah.
What activities do you do?
I know.
The dad at one point, he's like trying to show off some kind of aeronautics shit to
Yeah.
the boys who like just do not get it. Like they are not mathematicians.
It was like the one way he was trying to be involved, but
Yeah.
failing miserably.
Which was funny just because like, yeah, he's trying to be involved, but in doing that is taking the boys away from the girls, which is the whole point of this
Right.
party.
Yeah.
Like just 100% clueless, this
Yeah.
man.
But yeah, things start to liven up when they bring, who's the kid? What was the kid's name? I think you had Down syndrome?
Yeah, I don't remember.
But everyone's like he was like the icebreaker of the whole group.
What that was all about.
Well, it reminds me of like when I was in high school.
Like they didn't seem like they were making fun.
No, it's definitely a lot like
it seemed genuine.
It was. I feel like it was because it definitely reminds me of some kids in my high school that everybody loved. Yeah. And it's like they're just happy, loving people, and so I didn't see it as malicious at all. It's just like he's interesting and fun and cool and sing your song and let's like it was like he was an icebreaker essentially.
It's fun to make him happy.
Yeah, it's fun to make him happy kind of thing. But that's when Cecilia leaves.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if she was maybe like
I feel like it had something to do with that. Like it was making her like I don't know if uncomfortable is the right word, but like she just felt it was wrong.
She felt maybe that they were being condescending.
Maybe.
That's kind of the vibe I got. But,
same here.
But then given what happens next, I don't know. Like
it could be a thing where it's like she was dissociating really hard. Like I think that's definitely what I think. Where you're in the middle of a group, you just came out of this traumatic experience, and I don't want to be here. I feel not myself.
She's still got bandages on her wrists. Like she has so many bracelets. that are all taped together so that they don't roll off down from her bandages.
Yeah, I think that's just what it was. It's just an out of body. I don't want to be here. This is
not where I belong.
This is not where I belong. And then she throws herself out of a goddamn window.
Oh, this is awful.
Yeah. This is awful.
Do we hear, like, the parents first? Like, I think maybe the father...
Yeah, I think so.
...is upstairs. We hear him, I guess, shouting, and the mother goes to investigate, and...
Well,
everybody is, yeah.
I remember, actually, the first thing you notice is you hear her actually fall, because you hear, like, kind of a sharp metal sound.
Oh, I missed that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that pretty starkly, and everybody just stops.
Like, what's that? And then everybody runs out.
Her mom runs up the stairs.
So they go outside, and the 13-year-old girl is impaled on a fence.
God.
That is under their window. The dad is like holding her up, like trying to...
Yeah.
This may be the one scene that I did actually remember from this movie from the first time I watched it, because it was just so traumatizing.
It is rough. It is rough.
Mm-hmm.
And they do not shy away from it. And I think that was very interesting. Like, they don't pull away. They don't imply anything. You just see it. And, like, in real life, that's what you would see. And, like, the mother tries to hold the sisters back, and the boys just kind of leave because...
Oh, we gotta go now.
This is not... I
can't be here right now.
This is not... Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the first death. Ugh. This hits the mother pretty hard. The father...
It hits him hard too, but everybody has their own way of dealing with things, and his is just detachment.
Yeah.
Because
he was so hard for me to pin down.
I think he just lived in his own little world. Like, it reminds me of, I don't know, it's like a darker version of a sitcom dad who's like just checked out, you know? Yeah. Like, I have this family, but the workings of the house, I'm just overpowered by my wife and all these other, my children, essentially, that I'm just kind of here.
He is the object.
Yeah. Well, kind of like you mentioned earlier, I feel like he was just very clueless. I think he wasn't necessarily... I think he was trying to be a good dad and didn't know how.
Yeah.
And wasn't...
I'd agree with that.
...doing a good job.
He didn't know how to connect to his daughters. And maybe not his wife very well either.
Yeah, I mean, you get the sense that he doesn't know how to... communicate with anyone.
No.
They were very stark, like at very opposite ends of the power spectrum. Like, she is a very powerful, strong
And he has
female.
very strange interactions with lots of people, like the priest.
Yeah.
And one of the teachers toward the end.
Oh, yeah, that was when he was really out of his mind.
Yeah.
He's
talking to plants, talking to nobody.
I mean, I think he was having, honestly, a really hard time coping with what happened to Cecilia as well, and that might have been part of that. Like,
have you guys seen Twin Peaks at all?
Mm-mm.
Okay, well, there was also the girl who died in that. The dad kind of responded in a similar way, where it's like just kind of like loopy. Like, I don't know how to act, and I'm just gonna talk into things.
Have to keep living.
Yep, exactly.
Wow. Yeah, I cannot imagine what that feels like. You need help, and you're not gonna get it.
Yeah.
I know, it was interesting too when the priest did come over.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Their priest, and the dad's watching football or whatever, and he's drinking beer, and the father's like, can I talk to your wife? How's everything going? And the priest gets up to go check on the mom, and he starts to say, "Father," and then something happens on TV. Oh, they just did a thing. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks, Father. Yeah, Father, look, check it out. And then like, because at that moment I was like, oh, is he going to say,
I
hey,
really wonder about that moment.
I want to talk to you about Celia a little bit. And
And then he chickens out, and
I think that, that's what I got out of it, is that he wanted to reach out and just couldn't.
I mean, he's probably not used to having any autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason the priest comes over is he wants to tell the mother, I have listed the girl's death as an accident, which is important in
For
Catholicism.
Yep.
And it's clear that she understands the implications of that.
I don't even remember like how it turned. Like what made it so that they started to live their life again? Because that's the part that I don't see the transition. I don't remember the transition between like, here's Cecilia's death. Now we're going to go on to these other girls'
I think that's part of the mystery.
Okay.
That's how the boys observed it. Was that eventually they just came back to school as if nothing had happened.
Oh yeah, you're right. That's right. Because then it was people trying to like tiptoe around things and like try to reach out to them.
And they are also not clueless, but just
they've become very insular. Like
Yes.
even though they were insular before, they're like now very much so.
And do you think, was that in reaction to the death, or was that in reaction to their parents' reaction?
I don't know, because like there was definitely that moment when the father, before the priest came over, and he stopped by the girls' room before he went to the mom's room, and they're all just in there, like laying on each other and being close to each other. I think they just became insular themselves. That was their reaction to Cecilia.
Yeah. That was, I mean, those moments were all very sweet for me, with all of these sisters like lying on each other's laps and reading books together and
caring for each other.
Yeah. I mean, they are all that they have.
Yep.
They do not have other friends. They do not have affection from their parents. And so it has to come from each other. They start talking on the television about the suicide. And there's this general discussion about suicide rates across the country, which I thought was interesting because there was, in 1974, there was a woman who killed herself on TV because she worked at a news station, and some people saw it. There's a tape out there.
Oh, wow.
At one point, I think her brother or somebody in her family had the tape, but people are just like trying to get their hands on this tape. But like, it's sick. But
awful.
But yeah, so I think that was, I mean, assuming that this is at that same time or after it, this is on people's minds. Like, this is on the cultural consciousness.
I have no idea. Like, I didn't research or anything beforehand if it was becoming more of a more
I listened to a whole ass podcast about about historical suicides.
Okay, so I mean, it's becoming more of a thing. And I remember a big part of this that I picked up on it was like the interesting circles of gossip that were happening in this movie, where you have like the parent, like the mother's gossips, you have the little boy, gossip ring, you have the girl's insular gossip ring. And just, I remember that they were showing like, they had a scene before where they were gossiping about why Celia would do it in the first place. And it was so callous. It was like, there was like a offhand joke about, well, have you seen the decoration in there? Of course she would want to kill herself, which was awful. And then you have another scene later on after Celia's death talking about this, like you said, the television. It's on the TV. You're going around everybody's house. And so you're seeing that everybody's now getting notified, not just of Cecilia's death, but literally this is becoming a deal in our country. This is a big thing to worry about.
Mental health is not a thing. Like, we are coming out of Vietnam. We are not taking care of post-traumatic stress. We are coming out of lobotomy town. Like, this is not too far after lobotomies are a thing.
And you have parents who don't know how to connect with their children. It's one of those things where I'll talk about it later on, because there's a comment at the very end that really made me mad. How people just treat children in general, like they don't deserve like the same attention an adult would deserve, or like the you know what I mean? Like it's like children are just children. They don't have complex emotions and feelings. They don't understand stuff. So we're just
they understand so much more.
God, I know. And so I just brush them off. And I think you have...
They can feel that. They sense that.
Yeah. And so you come from a generation now that who was taught, you know, I think about Mr. Rogers. Have you guys seen the movie that came out of him? Well, it talked about specifically how he was raised. Children are to be seen and not heard, and you're not allowed to express your emotions. So you have people like who who become have Mr. Rogers' life, but are not Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, like it became his mission to fix that.
And so you have people now raising children who have been taught their childhood was this way. And so now you have this disconnect, I think, happening.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because these people would have come of age during World War II.
Yeah.
So that would have been a very buttoned up, emotionally, put on your best face kind of.
Very different culturally than now.
Yeah. So they don't know how to connect with their children. They don't know how to connect with each other as a couple. They don't seem to have any friends.
It's very isolated.
Yeah.
Ooh, so much isolation.
Yeah.
Talking about like this movie because it was set, well, I mean, it was made in 1999, but also set in the 70s, where I was just thinking about the internet. Like, the internet really helps prevent that isolated feeling, because Cecilia, her environmental passion, who does she have to connect with?
She would have been so big on Tumblr.
Yeah, exactly. Like, who else can you talk to about this? Or know that somebody else has the same...
Cecilia's so Gen Z. Love her.
Yes. Have these other emotions, and that you're not alone, and that there's people who understand you, and you're not isolated.
I don't have a hell of a lot of notes on this, so I think that's
I don't either.
Maybe the most detailed as far as the sequence of events that I have. One thing you were talking about the circles of gossip.
Mm-hmm.
How much do we see of girls that aren't the sisters?
Very, very little.
Yeah.
It's at school. It's when they're interacting with a group, because the only time that I can really distinctly remember is when there's a study group happening and they're trying to make a character study on something they read, and then she's like, "Oh, I was really sad when you died. Oh, I'm sorry, I was being insensitive."
I was thinking of the same scene.
And then Bonnie was like, she just kind of smiles, I don't know
whatever,
what you're talking about.
Like, whatever, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't really see the other gossip. And the only time that you see the girls actually gossip is when those two circles collide, when they're going to the homecoming dance, and they're driving through the neighborhood, and the girls are sharing their perspective. And it sounds a lot like gossip your moms would hear. Oh, look at their siding, or that's ugly.
I didn't really think about that.
Yeah.
It is very different.
Yeah, and then the boys are like, and they're talking about this tree stump. They're like, oh, that awful barbecue stump. And they're like, actually, that's the whole entrance to the sewer gateway. Yeah. And they're like, what? They had never heard that before.
Yeah.
That was an interesting colliding of worlds.
So we're seeing these girls start to reintegrate into school. The boys can't really get close to them. Does it seem like the girls want that?
I think they've become so insular, they don't know how to. I just think it's the whole film permeates awkwardness, and it's just a very awkward. They did a really good job acting that out. Because now that they're integrated back into school, there's that one boy, Trip, who was played by
Josh Hartnett.
Thank you. Yes. I was like, who's that
Who
guy?
had such a good wig. I loved that hair.
Yeah.
That was the most 70s thing I've ever seen. Oh my God. That hair was so good.
And he sets his eyes on
the 14-year-old,
Lux, which I was like, what a name.
I kind of wondered if that was is that a Latin light kind of
maybe
religious thing?
Potentially.
Maybe.
I didn't look it up either. I've only known one other.
That's the only
kid
connection
named Lux.
I could make was to light.
He sets his eyes on Lux, and I can't remember what my point was going to be. That
Sorry.
He's basically the turning point into bringing the girls out, because he's so dead set on dating this girl, which was an interesting thing they did, where they actually were interviewing the current for him as an adult, and his view back on that,
the 90s permutation of this guy,
and he was like, this was the love.
Yeah.
What did he say? She was the still point of the turning world.
Oh God.
Wow, holy shit.
Yeah.
She was 14, my dude.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're 30 now, thinking back on this.
They had 2 dates?
And fucked on a field.
Right.
And then he left her.
And then he left her.
Yeah. It was.
And that was his greatest love. And he's like, at least we had that. Ugh, that wasn't love, dude.
That was one of my major questions, was why did he leave?
I mean, honestly, it's to be very simple about it, my thing is just he no longer had a chaser. He got what he got, and he didn't really want to deal with the aftermath of it.
That is why she was interesting to him, because he is so used to getting attention.
Yep.
To being fawned over.
Getting whatever he wants.
Maybe it was that simple. But
he also was in rehab, so it's like, I don't know.
That's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
to reach out to this girl knowing that her sister has died by suicide, knowing that her family is so buttoned up.
Oh my god, the one time you went over to watch movies or watch TV with them,
It
and
was
it
like
was
documentaries.
so awkward.
Yeah.
Also, I like that Lux was knitting, though.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, cool.
Yeah, so there was knitting in the other movie too.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Very different.
The needles ended up a different place.
Oh, I was going to say.
It was a horror movie, so.
But yeah, so the trip was the turning point into the girls, I think, being integrated back into more social stuff.
The movie doesn't think so. The movie thinks that it all started with this Italian kid who fell in love with some other girl in the neighborhood, and she left, and he was so heartsick that he jumped out a window. But you see him walk away.
That was at the beginning of the
That was
movie,
at the
right?
very beginning.
Yeah.
And
So he just fell into some bushes and got up and was fine.
Yep, that was it. He had his cool sunglasses, and that was the end.
And then what? That's
Then we
what the
never-
boys thought was
That
the
maybe
start,
that's what
which
put
is-
it into Cecilia's head of,
Oh, jumping out the window.
which was
yeah.
a very simple way for them to look at it.
yes.
Yeah. I think so, yeah.
And they have obviously been communicating with Tripp because they say he's the only one that is reliable. I don't know why. It's all very subjective.
Yeah.
And I don't know which to trust. I feel like you were going to say something.
It was like the homecoming dance, though, was the next part, like the climax of everything. And so now we have them being basically punished.
Right.
Which is, oh my god.
So it takes all of this work, like Tripp knows it's an uphill battle getting to go on a date with Lux.
Mhm.
He actually goes to talk to his teacher, the dad, saying, I want to go out with her. My intentions are pure. Lie.
Yeah.
And then the dad does successfully negotiate with the mother, saying, well, yeah, even though it's the rule that, we can't let the younger one out if it's been the rule for all the older ones that they can't.
10 things I hate about you situation.
Yeah.
So he convinces the mother, okay, we'll let all of them go out.
Which is one of the few times you get to see the mom in like a happier light, where she's like making dresses for the girls and they're actually at the fabric store picking stuff out.
Yeah.
And even though she added an inch to the bust and added 2 inches to the waistline,
They became identical sacks.
that was a good line.
Yeah.
But they were still cute.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
they all looked different enough.
Yeah.
They were very cute 70s dresses.
Yes.
They were.
I loved them. It was like stuff that I have seen in a Goodwill that is obviously handmade from that era. Like, love that shit.
Yeah.
Love that shit.
So yeah, so they sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that was definitely a part where I was like, wow, the mom actually was like smiling and like wanting to make dresses for them. You'd think that she would be, but maybe that's her way of exerting some sort of control. Like, I'm going to make these dresses, you're not going to buy them, and I'll know exactly what you're going to be wearing. And yeah.
Something that surprised me at that time was she let the boys pin the corsages on the girls
I
themselves.
thought about that too.
I was like, are you really? You're just going to let this happen?
Also, there was a very like, what do you call it? Wes Anderson cut.
A cutaway.
Yeah. Where it's like
Totally.
it goes down to like Lux's hip and then does a X-ray vision on like her underwear. She's written, what's his face?
Tripp's name.
Which we learned that she did this before with a garbage
Right.
named Kevin.
And the mother found all of these and bleached away all the Kevins. I thought that was such a cute line too.
God. So weird.
Which is stuff I guess we know from the boys because they acquired Cecilia's diary.
Yeah.
I don't remember how that happened. Was it in the trash? Like
I
somebody
think
had
they
thrown
probably
it out?
thrown it out because they talk about later on, after everything's done at the end of the movie, that they will go through the trash that's left behind and get family photos and stuff.
Like I definitely
weird.
understand it at that point because like you have now lost 5 children
Yeah, I would not want to be in that house.
to suicide.
Jesus.
Like,
know, it's-
not only are you leaving the house, like, you maybe don't ever want to think about this again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could.
And everyone that's left behind is going to be curious and want to try.
I could totally see you just checking out.
Yeah. Ugh. Okay, where were we? Oh, dresses, the dance.
Corsages.
Yeah. And then...
I think one of the ways that the dad convinces her is he's like, I'm going to be one of the chaperones at the dance.
Yeah. Which doesn't prevent his daughters from drinking peach schnapps
Under the
bleachers
bleachers.
and making out.
Yeah.
And they won Homecoming, Queen and King.
Trip and Lux, which is like, okay, Homecoming, you're 14? I don't know if that's... I remember dances being like, maybe it was just prom was seniors and juniors, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't
I don't know
think
about Homecoming.
Wouldn't think a freshman would win.
Again, I have
Homecoming
no
Queen.
idea.
Yeah, I don't...
Yeah, I feel like, I mean,
That seems
freshmen
weird
could
to
still
me.
go to the dance, but they couldn't. I
Weird.
mean, I feel like Homecoming King and Queen were like seniors usually. I don't know.
Right, yeah.
70s were a different time also.
So, after all of this time, we've been hearing, well, the girls aren't even allowed to be in cars with boys.
Oh, yeah, that was weird, too.
Now
Yeah.
there's like 8 people in this car
Yeah, and-
somehow. After the dance, the older 3 girls are waiting with their dates in the car, like, maybe they went home with dad. Like, no,
No
way.
I super did not, because it's Lux and Trip fucking
On a field.
on the field. There's headlights shine on them constantly, like,
Yeah.
keep going by.
But they
and
don't stop.
I don't know.
High and also drunk, I guess, I would assume.
Right.
It was a real weird scene.
It didn't feel great.
no.
I don't like depictions
No.
of
Which I think was
teenage
intended.
sex anyway. Makes me feel uncomfortable, but
And I mean, I
Yeah.
assume the director was going for that. They didn't want you to feel comfortable
Absolutely.
during that.
yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely. Ugh. Yuckers.
Yeah.
Yuckers. Yeah.
There was a lot of that.
I remember, I was like, how's she gonna get home?
Yeah.
And so I was like, who's driving her home? And she took a taxi.
She took a taxi home.
Mhm.
Yikes.
Yeah, I just thought that was so crazy that, like, this boy had to work that hard and then just walked away from it,
Well, and also,
knowing that she probably could not cope.
yeah, after everything that she had been
Very
through.
self-absorbed.
Yeah, you have to be, right? Crazy.
And also kind of going back to how she got home. I cannot for any second, like why, how did they not go looking for her?
Right.
With how
Or
strict her
cops,
parents
yeah.
are, she was still at the school.
Yeah. that's a
How
good
would they
point.
not have had cops looking for her? Like, her dad was at the dance. I'm sure they would have looked everywhere.
I don't know. I kind of wonder if it was like maybe they were asking for it kind of thing.
Yeah.
Letting them put their finger in the electrical socket.
Maybe.
I don't know. I could see the mom being that petty. Because the second she comes up to the door, the
Oh
mom
my
is out
God.
there grabbing her.
Grabbing her and shaking her and pushing her in the
Yeah.
house. Get inside.
Yeah. Where have you been?
I thought
It was
would
very
not have-
aggressive.
yeah, I would have not been surprised if she full on slapped her daughter. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I was expecting, to be honest.
So now that this has happened, there's been a crackdown.
Yep.
Because Lux stayed out and she was not supposed to. And like the boys say, we expected a crackdown for maybe a couple weeks, but it has been months.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh my God. Going back to that detached dad when he was like looking and talking to plants at the school, and another teacher comes out and goes, your daughters haven't been in school for a couple weeks. And he's like, have you checked out back? And I was like, what?
Very odd. I didn't know what to think of that
I-
reaction.
I think he is just not of this plane.
No, I don't
anymore.
think so.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
I
talking
don't-
with plants, which,
I don't think
I
he
mean-
knows what daughters he's talking about. Like,
or maybe he didn't even hear the word daughters. Maybe he wasn't even listening. He's just like, oh, just check out back for whatever it is
'Cause
you're
I-
looking for.
yeah, I don't think it was flippant. I don't think it was sarcasm or.
The only thing
Yeah.
I can think is that he is struggling still with Cecilia's
so
death so
checked out.
hard that,
He snapped.
yeah.
I think
Which, I
so.
mean, if I had lost a child like that,
I
I can't
mean,
even
he was the
fathom.
one who was holding her, looking down
Yeah.
at her.
That would ruin anybody.
Yeah, I mean, whatever he was before, he is now officially fucked up.
Yeah.
Good lord. Yeah, I can't imagine.
So this part of the movie, I feel like I can give him a little bit of leeway for how he is
him.
acting.
I
Yeah.
feel for him. I do not feel for the mom.
No.
No, definitely not. Especially it's just like, it's so weird. It's like how far we've come, like any sort of crackdown. Like, I don't know if you guys, I was a rebel. Like, I was definitely like, my mom cracked down on me and therefore I snuck out. The harder
We did
you
not want to sneak out.
clench,
No.
the harder you clench.
That's the thing. We had the freedom, and we were just like,
And see, that's what
Whatever.
that's exactly
I
what
play a computer game at home, I guess.
Yeah.
Watch movies with my mom.
I was literally the
She'll
kid
share beer with me.
who would
Yeah.
say I'm going to the library, but I'm actually going to go hang out with other people because like my mom just did not trust. Like she wouldn't allow me to have trust. Like she just was like, you're going to do this anyway. So
I think that's one thing our parents got really well. Like they got that right with us.
Yeah.
They knew to give us some trust, and that we would be the kids that would.
My dad has said specifically he wanted to foster a curiosity early, like from early on. And so it was a lot of like seeing the museum and here's these books about nature crafts. And let's watch these documentaries about the cosmos. And like that was my childhood, and that's what I was into because that's the angle they were going for. And so, like
I can remember my parents' books were always there.
Yes.
And they were always books that would be above like our reading level. They would always try and kind of push those towards us.
Yeah.
To foster that.
I was definitely reading before I got to school.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, same.
Yeah.
I feel like I had the same kind of experience where my mom and my dad both wanted me to be creative. And like I remember bedtime stories being like mom reading us Shakespeare and other things. But like to let me go out into the world was different. So it was like, and I think they were forcing a lot of at least my mom, hopefully she never listens to this podcast, was definitely, I think she was worried that I was going to make the same mistakes that she did, which is get pregnant before you were ready to get pregnant and just go out and have a wild life. But my personality wasn't that way at all. And she was very open with me with a lot of stuff, like consequences to actions. But I think she was still just too afraid to let me just
like maybe
make
I can have
my own
some
mistake.
control over
Yeah. And so it's like I wasn't allowed to date. I wasn't allowed to like have extracurriculars or the people I associated with. She was afraid that I would like, I don't know, do drugs and get pregnant, which I did the opposite of.
Yeah. I feel like I would have been allowed to, but I have always been anxious and introverted, and so I just never had an interest in that stuff. Like you were saying, you would say you're going to the library.
And hang out with friends instead,
We were both very introverted.
We would hang out with each other.
I mean, I was the shy,
Yeah.
I mean,
At Barnes & Noble, that was what we did.
we were best friends from very young.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a picture I have of us in a car just
love
kind
that
of
picture.
like looking at each other.
Yeah.
That one of our dads snapped once back in the 90s.
The
The
90s.
days.
The 90s.
The 90s.
Pokemon cards. That's what I heard.
Indeed. What were we talking about?
Just like
Happier
the
Freedom and parental control.
freedom and parental control and stuff like that.
And that can have a big impact on, how you grow up.
Definitely. Like I said, I kind of rebelled in my own little ways.
Yeah.
And when I say I escape, like when I lied and go to the library and go hang out with friends, it was just my 2 friends. That was it,
So
yeah.
Lux was like the outsized version of that.
Yeah,
Like,
because she rebelled.
she rebelled big time.
Like to the point where she was fucking on their roof.
On their roof because she can't go out.
All kinds
Boys
of random
can't come
boys.
in.
So climb my roof and I'll meet you outside and
The boys across the street will watch us fuck.
yeah, live stream.
If only.
But no.
They'd have so much money.
Oh my God. But yeah, so that was, that's the thing I kept asking. Brayden watched it with me. And I was like, are teen boys like this? Are they like this obsessive? Like they'll go into a girl's bathroom and smell their lipstick? Or like that kind of stuff? And I have no idea if that perspective is right or not.
I saw that. That felt very innocent to me. That first boy initially like snooping through all their stuff in the
especially
bathroom.
like depending on how young you are, you're gonna have curiosities about things and not really know how to handle that.
Like not understand, maybe that's kind of a weird boundary to cross.
Yeah.
But I just want to know it. So this is how I do it.
You want to understand them.
Yeah.
Sure. I was asking him for his perspective. He was like, yeah, a little boy. Because it's like, it's your hormones and you don't know what to do with it. And so, yeah, your
brain isn't done.
Yeah. So he's like, this isn't really like that odd.
Yeah. Especially like you said, this was before the internet.
Yeah.
This was.
How are you going to get your information?
Yeah. We lost track again, didn't we?
Rebelling, having sex on the roof.
Yes.
Yeah.
Boys being awkward and watching
So,
and taking their stuff. But whatever.
They're clearly going off the rails.
Yeah.
These girls.
Yeah.
At least Lux is. I don't know that
We don't really know, like, because it's Mary, Bonnie, and there's another one. I can't remember another one's name.
Mary, Bonnie, and
Therese.
Thank you. Yeah, Therese. You don't really know much about the other 3.
No.
Yeah.
We maybe almost know the most about Cecilia, even though she goes first, because we have access to her inner thoughts via diary. I don't know how much we can glean from Lux's motivations or what she's thinking or feeling, and then we just get nothing from the others.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I almost wonder if some of that is they're older, they've been in this isolation longer, they're more shut down.
They've
more numb.
maybe even better at compartmentalizing.
Yeah.
I know the boys start spying on them, but then they also start developing a sort of communication relationship where, like,
The girls want to reach out.
yeah, they are reaching out, which is interesting. It's like,
How does that first happen?
I'm not exactly sure. I think they get a note, or somebody gets a note, I thought.
I feel like maybe the boys reach out first, like they make that first phone call and say, call this number. They play a record.
There's definitely notes interchanging, and then the
Yeah.
phone number stuff happened, and then like the Morse code lights, right?
Yeah. Well, because there was a scene, they were trying to figure out how to reach out, and then they realized, like, oh, we're just going to call them.
That's
Oh yeah, we're gonna look at the phone book. Duh.
The best answer was the simplest one, and it took us weeks to figure it out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we just call them.
Yeah, and then they just played records to each other.
Yeah, I don't know why they couldn't
Kind
just...
of.
It was kind of
Talk.
cute.
It was
but
sweet.
Sort
Yeah.
of sweet, but also like very sad of like, are these girls just afraid of using their voices?
Yeah, they've just been, and so I remember.
The mother could pick up the phone anywhere else in the house, but
Well, and it's also like they were that close to getting, somebody to reach out to, but they were still kept apart.
the fact that they even resorted to Morse code is just like,
Yeah,
Jesus Christ, what are they up against in there?
Yeah.
right.
That's crazy.
Well, because you remember that there's a bed check because Lux, when she first started dating Trip, was like, "I'll be back after bed check," or she came out after bed check, or I can't remember what she said exactly.
She has to be back before bed check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question about Trip. Does he have two dads?
Yes,
Is that what happened there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
he does have two dads who have no idea how to help him with his dating.
Yeah.
problems.
Like, I don't know, just talk to her.
Just talk to her.
I don't know.
Also, they served him like a daiquiri or something, which cracked me up.
Very birdcagey, is that what
Yeah, I was like, what the hell?
It was interesting.
Because I feel like the narration talked about, well, Trip talked to his dad, singular.
I thought I heard dads.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know.
If they did, I missed it. And I feel like I looked for it in the credits, too.
Uh-huh.
There was a credit for Trip's dad.
Oh,
And then, I don't remember what
maybe it
else.
was his dad's
don't
boyfriend.
know.
Who knows? But it definitely gave me the vibe that he had two dads.
And then
for
he was
sure.
so chill with it.
Yeah.
Which is also kind of an interesting thing maybe about Trip, that maybe he doesn't have much of a female influence in his life. Maybe that has something to do with
Like
how
he doesn't- yeah.
treats
Maybe.
women, because he doesn't know.
I mean, he has never had to pursue them.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
part of it. So he's
Mhm.
never had to be suave. Other than just how he looks.
I remember
which I've
Brandon's
never-
comment was like, when Lux passed him, he's like, gotta learn how to flirt now, Trip. Yeah. You have no idea.
Yep.
Yeah. I've never thought that Josh Hartnett was that hot.
I honestly think he was a lot cuter in this movie in a 70s style. And
I love period pieces. This was one of the greatest, like, style-wise.
70s Josh Hartnett, I like.
It was very subtle, too. Like, they didn't hit you over the head with,
Yeah.
avocado green and paisley
Yeah.
in the worst colors. Like, bell bottoms weren't too big, and there was only one sister with the part straight down the middle.
Yeah.
It was very realistic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved his hair.
Yeah.
It was so bad. I loved it.
It was
It's
great.
pretty bad.
It's so great. So the girls are communicating. I don't
Trying
know
to.
shit about any of these boys except I know the name Trip, and I
There's
don't.
Chase,
Okay,
because he was like, "Hi, I'm Chase."
was
the
he
other
maybe
sister-
like one of the youngest ones?
he was like really small.
I don't
short.
remember any of the names.
Yeah, I
of
don't
the other
know
ones.
anything about the boy.
But Chase is the only one I remember, and then Trip, and then that's it.
I don't even know how many of them were like
Or which one
cemented in the group.
Because which one is technically the narrator? It's one of them.
Yeah, it's one of them, and I can't remember which one.
Narrated by Giovanni Ribisi. I did get to that at the credits. Like, what? Really? Yeah, I don't know. It was just a lot of we, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was very amorphous. Like,
it's just like the group, like Sandlot, kind of like it's just a mass of boys
Yeah.
who are interested in these girls.
in these individual girls.
I actually remember thinking it gave me kind of Sandlot vibes.
Yeah, troop
Yeah.
of boys bonding over.
The boys were actually children too. Like they actually.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
maybe why you would get that vibe, because they actually looked like kids.
Yeah.
Hayden Christensen was there
Yeah.
with his baby face.
So we were talking about their communication,
Mhm.
and they get one communication that's like at midnight,
Mhm.
wait for our signal.
Mhm.
And this is like their cry for help.
Mhm.
And so all four boys go over at the signal, and they see Lux. Like
Lux
they're
answers the door.
yeah, she's like they go from the backyard sliding glass and they can see in, and she's just smoking a cigarette. And they knock, and then she's like, "Oh, but it took you enough time." And it's like they're making like a getaway escape, because I'm not sure. Like the note literally just said, "Wait for our signal, come at midnight."
Yeah.
And
I don't know what they were planning to do.
Yeah.
Like they were gonna drive away and like rescue these girls, I guess is what their plan was. I guess.
I guess that's what they were going for, yeah.
And so she's like, you could tell something's wrong. Like,
Yeah.
She's very off.
Yeah, she's very off. She seems out of her head.
Yeah.
And Kirsten Dunst does a really good job of being a sad acting. Like, it is like really believable. Something's like, there's definitely layers going on when she's doing this. And
she was pretty young.
I feel like part of that was the director too. Like, I watched a featurette that was on the DVD, and just the director being very, not hands off, but just letting you be who you are and being very tender and gentle with you and just coaxing it out of you kind of thing. And
so they're like, come on, let's go. We've got the car. She's like, well, we should take our station wagon because it's got more room. Mm-hmm. And then she's leaving, and she does that weird, like, touch the belt buckle of the boy, like trying to be like weird. One last seductive move, I guess.
Like, don't go away. Like, we have to keep you here.
Yeah.
And they're like, why don't you come inside? My sisters are coming. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
God.
Yeah, so the boys are wandering around the house?
Yeah, and like they actually have like a little, like, I was like, whoa, it cut to like them driving to you know, and they're free and they're happy and they're all together.
There's a shot of the station wagon
that everything is good.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, they did all leave and it's gonna change. And then like, nope, you're back in the house, and they're going down the basement, which, did you guys see that the decorations were still up from Cecilia's party?
Yeah.
Like there was balloon streamers hanging that were deflated, and party decorations that were still up in the basement.
That's crazy.
And they're all like happy and like
excited about
what they're gonna do. And that's when they discover one of the sisters who had hanged herself.
Yes.
I think it was Bonnie, right?
God.
I think so.
I think Bonnie was the one.
Yeah. And then they like freak out, they run, and then you get the vignettes of the other
girl on the floor
who stuck her head in an oven.
Yeah, because you could hear the gas. You could hear the gas going. And then what was the other one?
Therese, she took sleeping pills.
Yeah, so she was already...
She was gone supposedly before they got there.
And Lux suffocated herself in the garage.
Yeah, carbon monoxide poisoning. Dear God.
So my other question is, why did they need the audience? Why did they need these boys over? Why did they do this to them?
I had a lot of trouble understanding.
Yeah, me too.
This situation.
Maybe so it couldn't be hidden by their parents, like their deaths, because that's the only way. Because if nobody else saw their situation or found them like that way, the parents could just sweep it under or try to.
The story wouldn't have become lore.
Yes.
Well, and I kind of read a little bit after watching this 2 or 3 times and having a lot of struggles with this. Yeah. And one of the things I came across is that Lux wanted them to realize that like they could have saved her. She was she didn't kill herself until they had already left, supposedly.
That's still such a weird...
It was, yeah.
So you think that do you think they had like a sisterly pact, like we're going to do this all tonight, obviously, and then Lux just waited out?
Or maybe not, like they all did it in different ways. Like the boys said one of them was already knocked out with, I guess, the sleeping pills by the time we got there.
Bonnie.
We just didn't know.
I mean, could it be also, I mean, here's the other thing is, do you think they all committed suicide, or did Lux put them out of their misery for them? That's another thing I thought about too, because she's literally the last one, and they're all staged differently. But the sleeping pills one's the one that's kind of like, because there would be no struggle.
Yeah.
I guess.
I think it would have been really hard for her to
throwing me off with that though.
And like Bonnie, because how would she get her up there?
Yeah, true. God, this is...
It was, I mean, like you said, I read that, and it's still, even knowing that, it
still doesn't make sense.
It feels weird.
I mean, I guess it would be Lux that would be the one that might try to shame somebody into saying, you could have done more.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely came across as you could have reached out more. We needed help, and we didn't get it.
Yeah.
Right. But it's also just the way, also how Cecilia did it too. Like that was a dramatic, like, open display of, I've I've jumped out and did this thing out right in the front of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say cry for help because obviously at that point you're beyond that, but they wanted the attention to be.
And maybe it's because they just never got that attention, you know, or any healthy attention at least.
Yeah. It was very hard to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a hard movie.
So that happened.
Yeah.
So that happened. Boy. God. And it just like all things, it's like, well, time passes and things are starting to get back into normal. Normal, quote unquote. Yeah. And there's like a scene the boys are talking, or the collective narrator.
The royal boy.
The royal boy. Yes, he is talking and about how, you know, basically a whole year passes since Cecilia, and that's when the debutante stuff happens. There's like some sort of ball, which was
awful.
Wild.
A little bit.
Boy.
Whew.
It had something about like something had happened in the town that everything smelled.
Yeah.
Or some sort of asphyxiation party is what it was. I think it said.
It was in reaction to something that had happened in the town.
It was like an algae bloom or something.
Okay.
Like they said the plant had spilled something into the water and it caused an overproduction of algae or something.
Right. And the girls were all disappointed that the ones that year, their debutante would be remembered for being the smelly one.
Yeah.
And so the genius solution was, well, we'll just have an asphyxiation party and everybody's
wearing bejeweled gas masks. Oh my God.
Awful.
Drinking green juice, and
there was like a haze throughout the entire house.
What was all that about?
I think it's like just this comment on how society handles like tragic stuff. It's like
it just kind of does.
It becomes a parody. Yeah, it becomes like a parody of it, and that's how we mentally deal with things, I guess. This is the part in the movie where I end up getting really, really upset because there is an adult male who is drinking, and he's right at the pool, and he's like, he takes a drink and he goes, I'm done, and throws himself backwards in the pool, and he pulls out, he goes, well, I'm just a teenager and I have all these problems.
I was furious.
Oh my God, I was so mad.
Was he just drunk as fuck, or was he serious?
I think he was
dead ass.
I think he was drunk.
I think it was both,
but also like being like a shitty adult who doesn't understand.
Yeah,
because didn't he throw out a Goodbye Cruel World too?
Yeah, I think so. Something like that, or like some.
Yeah.
Ugh,
he did piss me off.
It was awful.
Yeah.
Again, I think it's just showcasing even just the party. Like that was like the cherry on top of the party, where it's like, here's something that's bad that's happening. We're gonna make a joke of it. Here's something tragic that's happened. Let's make a joke out of it. It's insensitive as fuck.
Yeah.
To people. And I for me, like, I love kids and teens, and so it's always really aggravating to me in movies, in media, where adults, or even just in real life especially, where they just brush off kid problems.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, of course they don't understand bigger world problems, because this is their world.
You've made their world small.
You've made their world small. You've made it tragic. Like, I remember, I'm sure you guys do too, where you're like, oh God, I can't wait till I'm 18. It's going to be fucking forever until I'm 18. Mm-hmm. Because you've only lived 14 years. That's your span. And like, even with like kids, when I see parents who, my dad especially, was the kind of like, if you cried about something, I'll give you something real to cry about. But I'm wow. If I dropped my ice cream cone, I don't know if I'm ever going to get an ice cream cone again. My view is so small.
Exactly.
And so when kids experience things, it's always going to be
the biggest thing.
The biggest thing. Exactly. Yeah. First loves, first time being left on a field by your boyfriend, I guess. Jesus. I can't even imagine her heart.
Yeah, and that's kind of what's sad, is that there's, a lot of stuff that they're experiencing for the first time, but then also stuff that nobody should experience ever.
Yeah.
And they have to still deal with it.
Yeah.
Right. God.
Like, their parents don't even know how to cope with it, let alone help their children.
Yeah. The dad just completely checks out.
Yeah.
The mom refuses to acknowledge
that she has had any hand in this.
Yeah, because that was the thing of the line. They lived in a house full of love. There was an abundance of love.
Yeah, she has no clue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was furious.
Yeah.
Yeah, that line at the end, that...
It's like, you learned nothing.
The last, 5 minutes.
You lost all of your children and you learned nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It really highlighted how little adults understood.
Definitely. Man, this movie.
It was rough.
Yeah.
It was like American Beauty-esque, but a little bit more bleak.
With less pedophilia?
Yeah.
There were no feel good moments. I mean,
Not really.
Not really. None that lasted.
it starts down and it just continues to spiral further and further.
Like the only like semblance of happiness is literally just this homecoming that turns to tragedy. And you're like, oh yay, they're not prepared for any of this, and great, now this is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't come out of this movie feeling good.
Mm-mm.
No, but I did also, I don't know how, but I did also find it very compelling all the way through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was very absorbed in it.
What was it that kept me there?
To me,
Is it just that we care about these girls and we want to know who these girls are? Like,
for me, I think the reason why I stayed in it was I do like you said, like we talk about exposition. There wasn't really a lot. Like this is just boom, you got the narration kind of like from a boy's perspective, but he's narrating it even from how we are going to experience
he doesn't have anything to expose.
Yeah, he can't.
Yeah.
He's just like, here's what I experienced and here's these lives.
Yeah.
I like that from a story aspect.
Yes.
And I think to some degree you're looking for a happy ending for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I stuck around. I mean, I knew how it ended when
Yeah.
I watched it this time, but you still are hoping
Yeah.
something will turn around.
But even there's a part at the beginning where you know it's not going to, because the exposition-ish part was like,
yeah.
She's the first.
she's the first.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's, talking about this story that happens and all 5 are going to end up dying, essentially. Definitely was told. I felt some sort of like kinship. Like I felt I knew some of these feelings. So it was like I was drawn in by that. So definitely I wanted to see their experience of it. Or at least, the character's experience of it to a certain degree. But I think all of the characters are very compelling, at least. There's some depth to
They're
it.
genuine.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There is a little thing that haven't gotten to is in the beginning, they've like cut the limb off of a tree and they fill it with plaster and Cecilia puts her handprint in it.
Uh-huh.
And later on, there's this crew that comes and says, well, there's this
Disease
coming through and killing the tree. This tree is dead. It's no good. Like, it's going to kill every tree on the block if we don't get rid of it. And the girls stand around it and try to protect this tree because this is what they have of Cecilia.
Yeah. And the parents also support that.
Yeah. I think the tree stayed up.
Yep.
That was one of the few moments I really liked their parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it was probably one of the only redeeming moments for her mother.
I mean, it's also the only thing that the parents have of Cecilia
True.
that's left. I mean, they're in the same boat.
Mm-hmm.
That's maybe the only way that they share anything is that they have all lost this girl.
Mm-hmm.
There's this weird thing about the journalist dogging them, and
Yeah.
she comes up a couple times.
Lydia Pearl. I don't know why I know that name. Why it stuck with me. I think it's a good D&D name.
Oh, maybe. Is this a good movie?
I think it was a good movie.
I think it was a good movie.
Does it hold up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's also because it holds up because it's specifically not about the time period, but about these characters' lives. And
Yes.
so when you look at it, it doesn't, like, I didn't even hear references that I wouldn't have gotten or anything.
Yeah.
Like, it was all just, this is these characters. These are these
you
people.
could reskin it with maybe different clothes and different music, but it would be the same story.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and you have to think about it from the fact that, I mean, they made this movie in 99 about the 70s.
Yeah.
It was already a period piece.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah, and so that's what makes the what's the most 90s thing question. That's what makes it really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's nothing really 1990s about it.
I mean, the cast is pretty much
Yeah.
the only thing.
Kirsten Dunst.
Josh Hartnett
Josh Hartnett,
as the heartthrob,
James
I guess.
Woods.
Yeah.
James Woods can...
Mhm.
Never mind. I'm not going to say that. What's the thing?
The thing about the movie that really sticks.
Mm-hmm. Did you have any image that you remembered from...
I think I actually mentioned earlier, the one thing I did remember was Cecilia's fall.
Yeah.
Like the scene where you see James Woods holding her up.
Yeah.
That just will forever
That is Yeah, that I just got chills.
Be burned into my brain.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think specifically, like if there was a scene exactly that was like,
I didn't remember anything really in particular. I had a vague memory of communicating with the records over the phone.
mm-hmm.
That might be the thing for me, because that was actually like kind of sweet and not horrible. So that's what my brain wanted to keep.
God.
Yeah.
So this is my first time seeing it ever. So for me, like the scene that I keep playing in my head right now over and over again is the part where it's after homecoming and they've been basically grounded for 2 months in isolation, lockdown. And there's a part where the narrator is saying, you know, the mom came home after a spirited church sermon and decided that the rock albums had to go. And you see Lux, Kirsten's character, sitting on the staircase and she's just crying.
With her creative
vinyls. And her mom was like, destroy them now. And like, hurry up and do this thing. And making her daughter basically destroy the thing she loves. And to me, it's such a violation of autonomy. And so for me, that sticks out because it's just like, that's the whole movie, is like these kids don't get to be themselves, like have their own identity.
Everything gets stamped out of them.
Yes, and including the music, and you can tell, and she's like pleading with her mom, no, not kiss, and she's making her throw him into the fire, which is the stupidest thing.
And that's kind of, I don't know if that's supposed to be symbolic, but the fact that they get choked out of the house because you've put plastic in.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, this is something you're not supposed to do. You're not supposed to do, like.
And so I've had a couple of experiences growing up where my things were violated, destroyed, or taken away from me because it's for my own good, or my dad just decided to do whatever. And to me, it's like, that resonated with me so hard, because it's like the one thing that you have to understand about children, when you have children, they're not objects, and they have their own identity, they have their own personality, they have their own ideas. And
they are smart.
You're supposed to be supporting and raising and fostering this growth, not trying to keep them in this little cube that you have for yourself.
Right.
And so that's why that is the thing for me in this movie. That scene specifically is like nail in the coffin of what the message of this movie is.
And I feel like that is a very 70s thing at that point. I mean,
music is the devil.
Well, not even just music is the devil, but not fostering, originality in children. Much like you said earlier, like children should be seen and not heard.
Yeah. So you have the parents who were raised that way and now are trying to do that.
Impress that upon their kids.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But the world's getting bigger, faster, and more information, more stuff is happening, and they don't really know how to deal with children being interested in media and other things. And they're like, oh, God. Influence.
I mean, it's almost like children have taken over in that regard now and are just taking it into their own hands.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. I love Gen Z. They're going to rule this fucking world, and they're not going to go to college because they saw us fuck it up.
Yep.
They're already too smart. Fucking love Gen Z. Burn it up, kids. I guess that's it. I feel like there's something else I've been trying to circle back around to, but I forget what. You guys have any other thoughts? Anything else you're thinking about?
I will only watch this movie once.
You're done?
I'm done. I'm not going to watch it again.
If I ever watch it again, it's going to be a very long time, because I watched it 3 times this week.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
It hurt. Probably more every time.
Yeah. Because you pick up things more and more as you watch it over and over.
It just makes you feel worse.
I think academically, this is going to be a really fun film for me to study. Because I've been looking at some screenplays and how to adapt things. And
oh, cool.
I would be curious if there are any other insights in the book that were not put into the movie.
Yeah.
Huh.
But I don't know that I would have the strength to go through and actually read the book.
Yeah, I kind of wondered about that. I was curious about the book, but...
Did you guys ever read the book or watch the movie Ordinary People? Mm-mm. It has a similar kind of vibe to it, where it's about a family who just doesn't know how to deal with the emotion of a death of a child. Mm-hmm. And so you have a child who remains. There's only 2 of them, and the younger brother remains, and he feels like he's responsible for his brother's death, and he can feel it happening with his he feels like there's some sort of weird, like the parents wish it was him that would have died, essentially, and that kind of guilt, and dealing with that survivor's guilt and then dealing with just parents that don't know really how to connect with your child or talk and communicate. I watched that when I was in my sophomore. We read the book, watched the movie, and then we had to write poems about it.
Mm-hmm.
Whew. That's heavy stuff for a 60-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had similar vibes about a lot of communication, guilt, depression, dealing with death.
So I guess that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, good.